Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Sunday. Let me get up the video stream here. 1 second. How's everybody doing? We had a great week. And thankfully, we got rain for the first time this season in Southern California, which is good. We need that for the fires, but hope everybody's doing good. Let's see who's in the house so far. We just have Steven sharing some knowledge here. Golf swing of Tony Brooks and golf swing of Justin Thomas are nearly identical. Well, I appreciate that, Steven. You know, if they were nearly identical, I wouldn't be sitting here doing these shows. But I thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so we got a show tonight. We got 4 students. I shouldn't say students. I'm so used to dealing with students. We got 4 subscribers that sent me their videos face on down the line. If you are new to this channel, you want to submit your swings, go ahead. You can send them to info@liongolfacademy.com. Just title it YouTube or swing analysis, something like that. And in it, send me a face on and down the line, and also include as much information as you can, because that really helps me. And if you just send me a video, no problem, I'll do it, but I'll probably follow up in an email and ask you a few questions, much like I did with these 4 submissions. So let's get started. If you have any questions, go ahead and send them in the comments. Hopefully these people that are on TV right now are going to be in the audience here. If not, if you get this at the end and you watch this on a rerun, if you have any questions, leave it in the comments. I'll get back to you. So first up, we have Chris. Chris is a steel worker, and I guess he said this day it was in the minus degrees. I think I see some snow falling at some point in this video. So kudos to him getting out there. Just don't hit it thin, Chris, whatever you do, because that's going to hurt your hands. But YouTube fan of yours responded to one of your videos, and you said, send me a video of your review. These are 6 irons, and it was very, very cold. Usually hit it pretty straight. If I do miss it, it is a pull. I'm a senior citizen and a full-time steel worker. Use these videos for whatever reason you like. Okay, so who do we have here? Monty. What's up, Monty? Send my swing. Looking forward to the feedback. You got it, Monty. I got you. You'll be third up. So sit tight and get some knowledge while you can here. Thanks for joining, by the way. All right, so back to Chris. Let's zoom in so we can see what's going on here. So we can see a swing that I really like. I like these swings, more so because I'm an upright swinger myself, but I just like them because if you're going to have a motion, if you're going to have a loop, I'm always favoring loops that work their way high to low as opposed to low to high. It's a very hard loop to build any power, because if you're using gravity, if your arms are nice and high, you can drop it with gravity, you can get that rotation. Now, rotation is a double-edged sword. You know, think about this. If you don't rotate, your hands will be able to close that club face for you. But if you rotate and your hands close, that's where some issues become. But we're going to look at this cause and effect, get a breakdown. We didn't really get a detailed explanation of what he wants to accomplish. So I think this is just a breakdown to see his swing, cause and effect. And can we see Barney Purple? Let's put it in a bigger line. Yeah, we can see that, right? We got to get Barney Purple up here. You can't do a live stream without Barney Purple. So we'll do his plane lines. And we'll draw a spine angle line. Let's do this in green so it pops out. And then what we'll do is in red, we'll check that back brace line just to see any motions back and forth. And we're going to split the difference because of the camera angle, and he's playing a closed stance. So arch of the heels, let's split the difference right about here. And we see that slightly toe-based. You know, toe-based players are naturally a little steeper just by tendencies. It doesn't happen all the time, but they can be steeper by that tendency. Let's take a look at the way back. So we see that club face is a little bit shut to the spine angle. So we might see some rerouting here. Obviously we do. The club face, though, remains on that same angle all the way back. So this is good because there's no... Usually when I see club faces closed on the way back, they get even more closed at the top of the swing. But you can see the angle is about the same. Top of the swing here, we can see that club face now is matching pretty close to that left forearm. It might be slightly closed. That's a slight close, but that's pretty good. Now, this is the magic move, right? This is where the right elbow drops in. We can see that right elbow drop down. Does it get deep enough? You could argue that because it's very steep. Obviously, when you get so steep like this, it's hard to get the club back over here. So if we draw the butt of the club down, it's not steep enough, but the way the rerouting action happens, it does fall pretty good right there. So in the middle of these two lower plane line, upper plane line, we see it's parallel. It is slightly steep, naturally, just because he's a steep swinger. We're not losing much posture. As we strike the golf ball, we can see a little bit of posture loss here. And this is normal with toe-based players because the weight's stuck on the toes, and you're going to favor your body moving closer to the golf ball because of that weighting. Just remember, the arches of the heels will find the center of your hip at impact, and it's done so here. We can see right in that area there. It's found the center of the hip joint right at impact, and that's always going to be the case. So if you, knowing that, you can adjust yourself if the posture loss affects your playing. That's the big if. So this posture left doesn't necessarily affect playing. As he comes on through, we can see that first club action releasing out here. So it still falls within these 2 plane lines. Not that bad of a posture loss, all things considered, with the toe-based swing. And as it comes on up, we get that right arm to reach that top plane line. So all in all, pretty good. Now let's just see how it compares with his natural impact plane, because that's, you know, a video released a couple days ago talks about impact plane. And this is basically your impact plane is how your body's getting there naturally. Now, obviously, how you set up to the ball affects this, because if you set up and your weighting's off, you're going to lose posture. But this is basically how your body's trying to hit the golf ball from the current situation. So then we draw back to the beginning, and we can see the plane line is pretty good, all things considered, his impact plane line. But then we start looking at that club head, and we see, does that club head stay on that line, or when does it get to that line? So it gets to the line right here, which is good. Stay, and then it just goes to the top. We get to the top. Does it come back down? It gets on that line right here, and then it will fall below. So, you know, he says he's a pretty straight hitter. I believe it. This is one of those swings where it's going to be very, very hard to change something because it is so dependent of each other. Got a little comment up here. How do you send swings in? Hey, Brian. Yeah, so send them in, info@liongolfacademy.com. You can title it YouTube submission or swing evaluation. We go live every Sunday at 6 p.m. These are all people that sent it to me within the past week. So it won't be on today's show, but it'll be on next week's show or whenever. Just send it in and it'll be on that Sunday show. And if we get enough people to fill it up, we'll start doing this a couple days a week. But back to Chris over here. If you were to suggest any changes with somebody like this that has a unorthodox move, you can see there's a couple of tour pros that do the same move that he does. Matt Wolff, for instance. So this is a very Matt Wolff-esque type of swing. Now, obviously, Matt Wolff is maintaining his spine angle a lot better, and that's just because of his setup is not so forward bending as opposed to this setup. But all things considered, I mean, it's a good swing. I wouldn't really start messing with the swing unless you have some sort of goals in mind. And remember, goals always come from how bad do you miss the golf ball. And then we're going to have to zoom into this one pretty good. So we might lose some. It's a little bit. Do we have a little filter here to help us to see that? But we can make we can make do with this. All right. So first of all, I love the setup, right? The setup is not that exaggerated forward shaft lean like we see most people try to get to. So if you draw your shoulder tilting, and this is always good for you guys and girls watching, if you wanted to start looking at your swing, let me delete that. That's a little bit too big. If you guys want to start looking at your swing and start seeing your cause and effect, you know, the thing about the golf swing is there's no universal way to do a golf swing. It's so independent, and you have to just understand that. Yeah, I saw that in the description. Right? Oh, no problem, Brian. You're good. And then thanks for taking my swing in. I'm here at work. I know it looks a little goofy, but it's fluid. No, it's not goofy at all, man. I really like the swing. You're very fundamentally sound, specifically in this setup. So this is what really helps this golf swing, is this great setup. And what we're going to do is draw a line from the golf ball straight up to the sky. Wait a minute. What do we pay? $9.95. Let's use that straight line. All right. So this is where I think, you know, some of your discrepancies. I think you said you pull it. Yeah. So some of your discrepancies could be this. And you might want to look into this. If I were to change anything, I'm not going to change anything in your swing itself because it's so, you know, it relies upon itself. I would start changing ball position slightly just to help you maybe get that center of your chest a little bit closer to that golf ball, specifically with irons. And we're talking about maybe at address and maybe at impact too. So what we're looking for is the center here. Now, remember, for you to strike down this golf ball, that club shaft should be forward leaning at impact. So it should be, you know, somewhat like here, right? We don't need that much forward lean, but you can see that if you don't do that, your hands will be outrace the club head's going to outrace the hands at impact, and that's going to close the club face at impact, giving you your pulls. Remember, face sends it, path bends it. So if it starts left, it's 75% club face controls the direction initially. So think about that. As we come on down into impact, we can see where's your center. Let's draw this in red so we can get some lines in between. There's your center. As you get down into impact, where does your center get to? It doesn't quite get to that golf ball line. So your center is still kind of behind, which will cause your hands to throw a little bit. And you can see your right hand's throwing a little bit. Now, if your timing is off, that's where your pulls will come in, because that club face is going to be closed at impact. So a couple ways to figure this out. You could do it 2 ways. You can move the golf ball, keep everything the same, but just move the golf ball position back 1, maybe 1.5 golf balls and try and swing. Number 2 is from the top of your swing, you can think about your chest. You got this angle here. You think about carrying that angle a little bit further. Right there, you start to teeter the other way around. So carrying that angle further by moving your whole upper body 1 or 2 golf balls more towards your lead side. That'll straighten that miss hit. It might start to bring in some issues with your release point because you're not used to that. But that's the only change that I would really recommend for somebody of your swing, your ability. You've got incredible hand-eye coordination. You're able to hit the golf ball consistently from this. And with somebody with such an unorthodox move, if you start changing anything outside of the setup, then you're going to run into some issues. The whole swing is going to start to collapse a little bit. Let me see here. Is crossing the line generally good for more distance? Depends on how you cross the line, Steven. So if you look at long drive hitters, they certainly cross the line. But if you look at the amount of rotation they have, they're 120 degrees of turn. So even if they keep their hands out in front of their chest, they're going to be cross the line. Now, anytime you cross the line, you're inviting some timing issues at impact. So I would just be wary of that. Obviously, the hands do move across the chest at the top of the swing, maybe to the right shoulder at the most. You don't want to go any further than that, because now all of a sudden, unless you lack rotation, right? I mean, if your body can't rotate and you need to get distance, that's the double-edged sword you got to accept. Hey, I got to get my arms more involved. But as a result, I'm not going to be as consistent. So this is the thing you have to play with yourself. It's like, I shouldn't say that, play with yourself. This is a family show. What am I doing? But hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Awesome. Thank you. I love your breakdowns. They're unbiased, really cool to watch. Most people have one swing system, which we all know. There are many, many different swings, which you acknowledge. Yes, absolutely. I don't believe there's one swing at all. It's so individual. Look at the tour pros. I mean, these are obviously they're the best in the world and they're freaks of nature, but none of them swing the same. I mean, they might share some things, but none of them are the same. So neither should we. Why? If they're not the same, why should we be the same? They're the elite ones. We're the ones that just, work at steel factories and try and play whenever we can in -5 degrees. So hope that helps you, Chris. If you have any further questions, just let me know. Terry, I wish I had more of this action. Yes, it's a really good action, Chris. So don't beat yourself up too much on that swing. I really like that swing. So let me know if you need more clarifications later on down the line, but give that a try. Move that ball position slightly back, just a little bit. Don't over-exaggerate it. Keep your setup the same and just see if that helps. If that doesn't help, maybe start sliding a little bit more at impact and see if that helps you avoid the lefts. Next up, we have another Chris. Yes, another Chris. All right, I'm going to have to bring this over here while I read this. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Is this Chris? No, this is Monty. Monty, is this you? I think this is Monty. Yeah, okay, sorry. This is Monty. Chris, you're going to be up next. It's just the way these things fell out. So, Monty, here we go. I've attached a face-on and down-the-line view of my current swing. These are both using an 8-iron. I was trying to become more body-driven swinger with open hips at impact, but that doesn't seem to work for me. The swing you see gets decent results and mostly arm-driven. Okay, so we're going to look at why it's arm-driven. I'm pretty tall. You know what? Let me play this while I read this so you guys aren't too bored. I'm pretty tall, 6'4", but I feel like a short hitter. My 8-iron goes 130 to 140. Yeah, for somebody that size, it should definitely go a little bit further. Working on face control because I have a two-way miss. I hate two-way misses, but mostly a tendency to hook. Okay, so we're going to look at why it's arm dominance and why the hooks are in place. I then asked him a few more questions just to help him out. So, do you play any other sports? I'm a lifelong basketball player. 40, but now still hoop. But welcome to the 40s. It all goes downhill from now. I'm just joking. Any issues with your body? Intermittent low back pain and knee pain from sitting a lot, but nothing that limits me in golf. I'm a pretty athletic still. Okay. How long have you been playing? And also, do you take lessons currently? I've been playing for 15 years. I've taken lessons. My last instructor wanted me to focus on getting on plane or slightly above plane in the downswing. Monty, can you tell me what you guys were working on to try and get you back on plane, just so I know if it was covered? On the video, it didn't look too over the top. It's actually nearly impossible for me to swing over the top. Okay, so we're going to start looking at why this is. I practice on the range roughly once a week, play 1 to 2 times a month. Live in Georgia, so whenever the weather's good. Okay, so we got a pretty good idea of what's going on over there. Great review. Thanks a bunch. No problem, Ayatollah. Appreciate you. Yes, me. Okay, perfect. All right, so this one's for you. So you got the hooks going, no body. Let's figure out why. So first of all, we can tell that's a pretty strong grip and a pretty hard forward shaft lean. So let's look at the down the line just to see what this looks like. And let me zoom it in for everybody. That's a little bit too close. That's too small. Here we go. All right, let's take a look. Okay. Oh, yeah, I see the hooks. So very inside out. Strong club face. Okay, so yeah, we've got some. I don't call them issues, but we got something to work on. So at least not work on, but give you the idea of why your stuff is happening. So let's do this. Let's first see how far your ball is going offline. So we're gonna, and this is not, this is Bill Nye Science Guy style. This is not exact. So what we're gonna do is draw a little circle where your ball is now and see if we can catch it in flight. Because I think I see it in flight there. Oh man, let me zoom in. I know I saw it in flight. There it is. Okay, let's go a little bit more up. Okay, so it's right there. And I believe this had a little bit of a work to the right. Yeah, see it moving slightly right. So it's a little bit of a fade. So definitely a push fade. Okay, so let's back it up now and see. All right, there we go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is draw a line from where the ball is to where it went. This is like Temu TrackMan you're looking at right now. The Temu TrackMan. So let's get the, look at this. All right, you got a 5-degree, out path. But obviously there's face dispersion, so it's probably not 5 degrees. It's probably 7 or 8 because it's about 70% face dispersion. So let's just call it 5 degrees just for argument's sake here. So we got 5 degrees open at impact. So remember, face will send it right. Now path, depending on the motion, so that ball moves slightly right. So that means your path is going to be, if it's a straight shot, your path is going to be inside to out right because that'll negate each other. You'll just have a straight shot. Because that ball moved right, your face to path relationship is still struggling. So it's not necessarily as much of a plane issue as well as a face angle issue. So it's a little bit of both. And they're probably compensating each other to try and get somewhere in the middle or get some height, because I do see a forward press. I do see a strong grip at the top of the swing. It's de-lofted. So you're probably trying to add loft at impact somehow. You can't get any rotation because if you have an inside to out path and a strong grip and a strong club face with rotation, that's mega trouble. That ball's going so far hard left. So you've learned to hold off all your power. So it's no wonder you feel like you don't have much power. So let's just kind of break this down, what I see specifically in your setup. And let me see if you got back to me. Yeah, I know very strong grip. I've been trying to work on weakening it since I sent the video. Okay, could you let me know if you remember that coach that helped you try and get more steeper or get that club path out? What you guys worked on? Did you guys touch on setup at all? Because I see something in your setup that really kind of prohibits you from doing something that's natural, something that an athlete does. What you're displaying is you're displaying your athletic ability at impact because you have, not desirable positions, but you're trying to find a way to hit the golf ball. So you see your athleticism come from the top of the swing to impact. You're doing all these compensations and you're doing pretty well. And that's the bad thing about dealing with good athletes is they start getting away with more than bad athletes. Bad athletes prefer to put them in better positions to allow a natural ability. But the more you're athletic, you can start to set up all funky and still hit the ball decent. So number one is there's not a lot of room here between your hands and your knees to turn in one piece and get your hands to go down that lower plane line. So the hands initially come on up. Now you've already got a strong grip. You can see in relation to your, there you go, spine angle. It's right on that spine angle, but it doesn't veer off. At the top of your swing, it gets closed to your forearm. So it's pretty close to the top of the swing. Now, I've seen people work with this, that's no problem. But as you come on down, you can see here, it's still, now it's slightly open to your to your spine angle. And as you come on down here, it's back to being open. But then watch your right hand at impact. See how your right hand kind of has a scooping action, but you also notice your spine angle. You're on a new spine angle now. You're starting to jump into the golf ball. And you can tell your footwork. So if you look at your footwork and if you zoom in on your feet, so watch what happens on your feet. So you see the weight stores up on the toes. You can see the transfer from one toe to the heel. So you're trying to get that rotation, but you can't because you're stuck. I mean, look how close your arm is. So there's not enough room for you to turn. So you're very close in terms of your setup. Now, I'm just curious, do you have fitted clubs? Are these rack clubs? Is it possible that you need these extended or angled differently? Because maybe you're setting up for the angle and they need to be flatter to help you stand further back. That could be an option. But look at the weighting of your feet. So then it transfers to your left heel. But then as you follow through, look at where the weight goes. It goes back to your toes. So remember what I said about the hips will always find that, the center of your feet will always find the hips at impact. So if we take a look at the center of the feet, let's draw a line straight from the center of the feet up. There's the center of your hips. As you come on down into impact, as you strike it, look at the center of the hips has found the center here. So you just need to be, my opinion is we need to get you some spacing. So maybe the setup is okay in terms of this angle, but feel like the feet are just further back away from you. So, if this is the arches of your heels, it's going to be more in this region. Now that might change a few things, and that's why I said maybe clubs might be your issue. I don't know. Let me see what he says here. No, we didn't touch on setup. He just tried to have me feel like I was purposely throwing the club. So just remember this. There's a reason why you're throwing the club, because of positions, and you're an athlete, so you're gonna find a way to get that club inside, because it's the only way for you to hit the golf ball from that top position, to create any sort of leverage and get the club shallower from losing posture. So you're finding a way to do that. Now, if you all of a sudden try, you haven't solved this. So if you try and solve this without correcting this no longer counts, because this was the only reason you can hit the golf ball. So I don't see the purpose of changing this without finding why this needs to be in that position, if that makes sense to you. So I would really look at your setup. I'd feel like you need more spacing away from the golf ball with your lower body, not necessarily with your upper body. Look to see if the clubs need to be flattened out for you, lengthened out to help you out to get in that correct setup. It almost looks like you're trying to compensate for the club instead of the club working with you. Now, from the face on, we can kind of see a difference here with your wrists. So down the line, further back, longer clubs if possible, flatter, might help you out. Set up here, we can start to look at, let's zoom in. Let's see here. I haven't had my clubs fitted yet. I would really recommend going to get them fit. To me, it just looks like you're trying to fit the clubs instead of the other way around. And with an athlete, you start compensating incorrectly. So we already see a forward press going on here. So there's your shaft angle. There's your shaft angle there. And we take a look at your shoulder tilting and your spine angle. So you're pre-setting your tilting. So now you've got a bunch of these. You get these two circles that are not lined up. And I'll do the quick circles. I'm not sure if you're familiar with these circles, but you got this one circle. There's your spine angle circle. And then we'll do the club face circle. Just give me the club shaft circle in green. So if we draw a line with the green, you can see that your shaft angle is pointing down, and then your spine angle is pointing up. So you've got these two lines that are kind of crisscrossing. So at some point, you got to reconnect them in the most effective way. So we've got that to figure out. But number one is look at the wrists, right? So we know you got a strong grip. You get to the top, it gets even stronger before you hit it. Now, we can't rotate because we're too close. So what does your hands have to do? They have to start to fire. Now, because we can't rotate and they have to fire, you start to cup at impact. So look at this position here. So this is the cupping that we're talking about. Let's get this in a bigger line now. Sorry. This is the cup we're talking about. Now, you ask yourself, why am I cupping? You know, cupping adds loft to the club, and it helps get the ball up in the air. So you're striking down, but you're also adding loft because your body has figured out this is the only way for me to strike the golf ball. And it could also be because you're so far into out that you now have to manipulate that club face to stop rope hooking. Because let's say you're into out 10 degrees. If your club face matches that, you'll just hit blocks all the time. But any deviation of your club face is really going to accentuate that motion. The more your path is into out, the minute your misses can become in terms of your face angle. The closer your path is to 1 or 2 degrees, now we're looking good because the face angle is not going to affect them that much. That's why the tour pros are so good on their misses, because their path is not so extreme. So just keep that in mind. I hope all this makes sense to you. I think I hopefully didn't jump around too much. In terms of this face on, I think what you need to try and do is just set up more neutral. So we know we got that spacing to back away from the golf ball with your feet. This ball position, maybe put it more in the center so you don't have to feel like you're leaning over to the left side. It looks like you slightly open up your shoulders to get to that golf ball position. So just, for you, put your feet together and put the ball there. So let's say your golf ball can be down here. And now you put your feet together. So one foot goes there, the other foot goes there. Take equal steps left and right. Now you know it's in the center. Let your hands just relax. So grip the club, let the hands relax. Now remember this, the right hand's going to be lower, so it's going to tilt your shoulders slightly. So you have a slight little tilt. So it might be still in that little forward press, but at least the ball position will be relative to you and your center. You won't have this spine angle pointing way far ahead of the golf ball where now you have to deal with that too, and you're running out of room. So put it bluntly, I'm amazed you're actually hitting the ball pretty consistently with all these things at the issue. So you really need to focus on your setup. Once your setup is there, as an athlete, you'll develop around that setup. You might not even have to pay attention to the inside to out. It might just happen automatically as an athlete, or you might have to pay attention to it. But your first step is you got to get your basics set up. Grip, alignment, setup, posture. And if you need help, let me know in the comments later on. You can always reach out to me by email. Ask me questions if you want. I'll help you out. I'll try and guide you as best as I can. But I hope that helps you. If that doesn't make any sense, I apologize. But hopefully it does. Next up, let's take a look at this swing. This is... here we go. Now, this is Chris. Okay, we have two Chris's. That's what threw me off there. Okay. Hey, Tony, my friend Philip introduced me to your YouTube channel and suggested I send my swing for advice. I'm a longtime beginner golfer, 30 handicap, who has been recently investing in more practice. Here's a video of my 7-iron. I tend to swing too much out to in, miss both ways, and struggle with consistent contact. Would also like to get rid of my chicken wing. Ah, man, chicken wings. Thanks, and look forward to hearing and watching the show. Oh man, my throat's killing me. I had this like pneumonia. I don't know what's going on. Thanks a lot. I'll work on the setup and look into getting everything perfect. Awesome, man. Let me know if you need help too. Once you get set up, and I'm very curious of your new clubs. If you do decide to get new clubs, what those are. I predict they're probably going to be 1/2 inch to 1 inch longer, maybe a little flatter too, to help you stand a little bit further away from the golf ball. So I'm really curious. Just let me know if you can. Hey, Chris is... All right, we got Chris online too. Great. So we got the man of the hour. Thank you for sending me your video, Chris. I appreciate it. So we can see, that forward press is going to be an issue for you. And right at impact, you can see the result of that forward press. How's your rotation? Let's take a look. Sorry, I got this thing in the bottom of the screen. Here we go. Let's check your rotation. See if it stalls out on any point. Yeah, we have a slight stalling. It's not too bad. But you do lose a lot of your posture and then you're kind of stuck from that point. So, your steepness, it's let's do this. Let's see how many times your club can get above and below the plane based on your natural ability. All right, so that's where your body is trying to get to based on this setup. And this setup looks okay. We're going to draw your plane, though. Let's take a look at your regular starting plane just to see how things work around. And there's reasons for your starting plane, too, to help you reach some certain checkpoints if your body can do it. Remember, just if you can do it. Yeah, so your hands are getting up. The club face is getting below. So the club face is on the plane. Your hands are on your swing plane. So there's a slight disconnection there. Club face is still square to your spine angle, but your spine angle is raising. It's coming out of its posture. You can see right over here. And at the top of your swing, the red short line is ideally, let's say you're a robot, and let's say based on your setup, that's where your hands should be. But they're on your swing plane line. So that could work out. But let's see on the way down through. Now we start throwing it outside. Your club is on the swing plane line for a pretty good amount of time there. So you know what? You're making this work, and you can see. I wonder if we catch that ball flight there. Yeah, it looks pretty straight. Maybe a slight push, but you can see you're making it work. It is sacrificing a lot of positions, a lot of power leaks in this swing. It really depends on what you want. Let me see. Do you have any goals? If you can let me know your goals, like your short-term goals, or what you're looking to try and do, other than distance, because everybody wants distance. All right, but let's take a further breakdown here. So, what you want to try and look for? Let's zoom in. Sorry, I'm a little bit off today. Oh man. All right. So what you want to look for is based on your setup. You always want to see how your setup can predict itself. So we're going to draw your spine angle in yellow, and then we're going to draw your shoulder tilting. Okay, so that's going to be where your shoulders need to be at the top of that position. Now, if your body's not physically capable of getting there, you need to adjust your setup until your body's physically capable. And I say that because to keep that left shoulder down on your spine angle with that amount of tilt, it's tough. Most of us can't do it because we're not flexible enough on our left side. If we work in the office all day and we're sitting, these legs are shaped like chairs. Imagine a chair there. That's basically what they're going to be shaped like. So if you want to try and stretch them out at some point in your golf swing and your body's not used to it, you're used to sitting a lot, it's going to be a challenge for you. And we start standing out of our posture because of that. Let me see here. More consistency and better contact. And we have distance for 7-iron isn't great, 140. Okay, so there's power leaks, but take a look at this motion, right? So we take this club back. Ideally at this point, you're already starting to lose posture. So you can see your left shoulder is already coming out of its posture. And this could be a flexibility issue. I'm not sure if you are flexible enough for this setup, or if it's just not been taught to you correctly, but that left shoulder needs to feel like it's pulling more inside. Feel that left shoulder going down. Now, you don't want to start adding tilt because that's another issue, but you want to maintain your tilt because when you start raising up, things start to work higher, right? So if you start raising up and work higher, you can fight that. So let's say you start raising up and you don't fight it. Your hands are going to be, way above plane. Or you start compensating and you pull them inside. So it looks like you started to compensate and pull them inside to not get to that secondary plane line. But look at the new spine angle. There's your new spine angle. So you see how much angles you've lost. So if we draw a little angle tool here, let's see if we can get that. It's going to be in the same Barney purple, and hopefully it won't break the system here. Oh, man, it did. Look at that. Yeah, see, now I got to, we're going to, look at this. Oh man! All right, let's redraw this real quick. And I don't know why it does that. I think anytime you get too close to lines, it gets confused. Okay, so let's redraw this real quick, and let's do this so they're not near each other. All right, let's try it again. Let's try not to get too close. Oops. One more time. Okay, so you lose 16 degrees of tilt roughly. So that's a lot of loss of tilt. Now you either make up for it on the way down. And I've seen people get in the position where they start making up for it and they do back down to the golf ball while they turn, while they get to the back brace line, but you don't. And when you start losing your posture, it starts to affect your plane. And when you affect your plane, then what's left to save you is the hands and arms. Plus, you've got that forward press. So forward press, if you don't know, is this angle here. This is a very severe forward press because if you take a look at your spine angle to get that forward press, look at what your spine angle is. You've got such a dispersion between this spine angle and your forward press that you've got to make up this angle at some time of your swing. And if you don't, you're stuck. Now, if you take a look at impact, what happens at your impact? Because you don't really make it up correctly, you start stalling out, you stand up. Now you think about, why do you stand up? If you start releasing your club too soon, that club gets longer sooner. So the only way to compensate that without hitting the ground way back here is you start standing up to allow the club to get longer. So you just brush the ball. Now you can time it perfectly and hit a perfect divot. Sometimes you might hit the top of it. Sometimes you might hit the equator of it, but it's going to be very hard to time that exactly. And at impact, you can see you get this complete broken down look. And the only reason is because that forward press. If you were to maintain that forward press and strike down the golf ball and maintain your upper body, because basically what you're telling yourself is your upper body, to match that forward press, your upper body has to be in that position. Now, can you imagine you swinging that far down? You will hit the ground. Even if you hit the ground at the golf ball, you'll hit it right here, and the club is going to go straight into the ground, and it's going to break your club, is going to break your wrists. So as a defense mechanism, your body is trying to prevent that from happening, and it stands up to throw. So to really get rid of the chicken wing, you've got to bring things back into perspective of each other. So just like Monty, you want to think about, now this is exaggerated than Monty, but you want to think about this. I like the ball position. Okay, so the ball position's right in the center. But look at how much is ahead of that golf ball position. It doesn't need to be there. Forward press happens naturally. If you get your body in a position that's decent and you just get your weight distribution and rotate, the rotation, the slight tilting that you get increased, and the weight distribution gets the forward press naturally. You don't have to pre-forward press. But by pre-forward pressing, unless you have some arms like Gumby and able to make up for it, you're going to throw your hands to get that thing back in the golf ball, and that's where you lose your posture. So your first thing is to get used to setting up more neutral. So you want your hands to be, maybe, obviously you can see much more of this side over the golf ball. And I think that's because you've forward pressed so much that your whole upper body has to go this way to get that forward press. So you'll be surprised if you start deleting that forward press. Just let that club just sit slightly forward press. You don't need that much. So you can see, if we can redraw yourself, you'll look more like this. So at least these shoulders won't be as tilted. It'll be slightly forward pressed. And then you can start to make your move more naturally. And you'll probably see your chicken wing disappear pretty quickly if you do it this way. But you have to monitor yourself. You have to get yourself on a camera. Ideally, if you can go to a facility that has a camera live feed or a mirror works great. And you can see yourself, put little tape marks on the mirror to make sure your ball position, your hands are in the right place, and use the same club until you get it down grain. And then just get your weight distribution. It might take away the raising. You might start to stay down more. Who knows? I just don't want to give you too much to think about until you get this setup corrected. You've got a great swing. You're able to compensate correctly. You can see how that club stays on your impact plane. From this point, it's right on the impact plane. So it stays there. So your club goes right through your hands. So you're able to do it, but you're compensating a lot. So I hope that helps you. I hope it didn't lose you as well. I'm a little bit off today just because I'm trying to get away from this cold. Sounds like I need an ease up on the forward press review, shoulder tilted address. Correct. Yes. You do that and just swing and just see what happens. Try this for me. Do it for a week straight. Okay, so next Sunday or Monday, I want you to send me an updated video and only just focus on your setup. Don't think about your chicken wing. I know it's hard to do, even though I mentioned it. Don't think about it. Just solely focus on your setup. Take the same club that you sent to me. Send me another video. I want to do a before and after of what changed only when you thought about setup. I think it's going to be really cool for you to see. It'll be cool for the audience to see, to really show you, if you pay attention to correct setup based on your abilities, you'll naturally evolve and naturally build a decent swing. Okay, so give that a try. Hopefully that helps you. Any advice on not standing up next swing? So hopefully, Chris, I answered that as well. I didn't see these coming, but the standing up is a result of throwing the hands too soon because you have to stand up because the club's getting longer sooner, or else you hit the ground. So hopefully that makes sense. Thanks, Tony. No problem, Chris. Who's last up? Now, this one's going to be very, very, very exciting for me. And I can't wait to you to hear this story. Okay, this is Terry. Terry, hopefully you're on the channel. Hopefully you're watching right now. If not, I know you're probably going to watch this later, but this is a really cool story here. Hello, I'm attaching a couple of 8-irons from yesterday for possible analysis on your live stream. Although they are bad, they're not bad. I'm not sure I want them on the internet. You do. It's fine. In any event, I'm 67 years old and a 1 handicap. Although I don't really know how I got there, but I guess despite my swing flaws, I can manage to shoot some decent scores. I know pretty much what I do wrong, but I apparently to this point have not gotten the drills that work for me. I would like to not have so much runoff at the top, meaning it goes fast. Let's play this while I read this again. At the top of the backswing, and would like to not have to stand up at impact. But my hand path is so steep coming out of the top that I don't have much choice. Of course, as a result, there's no compression. I generally hit an 8-iron, 145 to 148, range of and 150 to 152. So you can see this guy's a player. When he says I generally hit at 145 to 48, that's 3 yards dispersion, or maybe 150, 152. So definitely a good player. Generally hit the ball pretty straight, not a lot of curve. He has had an L4, L5 spinal fusion, which could affect a lot of this at impact. So we got to keep about that, and a lot of arthritis in my back. So, this is where the cold reality, and I don't know why it does this. This is another thing that annoys me. Some of these videos, you saw how choppy it was. Some of these videos, just you hit play and it chops around. So if you didn't see swing, you'll see it in slow motion. But this is where the cold reality of things kick in. Once you start having back issues, it is very hard to come out of back issues, specifically as you get older, and specifically in the golf swing that has a lot of pressure. Even the least pressure golf swing in the back still creates pressure in the back, and it's going to wear out. It's just a matter of time, and that's why I'm very adamant on teaching our kids to not stress their back, because they're not all going to be golf pros, but they will ruin their game for the future. So we got to keep that in mind. Now, we can't see this swing on full speed, but you can get an idea of how good this motion really is. I mean, a lot of coil, a lot of wind up. We see the standing up. We see what he's talking about throwing a little bit too soon, and a lot of depth to his swing from this view. The club definitely goes a little bit far, ideally, and he would like to probably think that he needs to stop his swing about here. But if you can watch his swing in real time without it being choppy, I don't know why it's choppy, you'll notice that it is a fairly quick swing, quicker than the average. Now, slowest swing and fastest swing is not that much difference. Terry, yep, you're here. Great, thank you, Terry. Slowest swing is 0.8, 0.9 seconds. Fastest swing, this can be the other way around. Fastest swing is 0.8, 0.9 seconds. Slowest swing is 1.2, 1.3 seconds. So it's not that much difference, but it does play a part, because the quicker you take that club back, the more that club weighs, and the easier it is to go further back. So to expect him to stop his swing short is probably not going to happen unless he slows down his swing. But then if he slows down his swing, sequencing will be thrown off, and now all of a sudden he hits it worse. So do you want to think about slowing down or stopping your backswing shorter? Would it be nice in a perfect world? Yeah, but is it worth it? Probably not. It's going to do more damage than good. The reality is, I'm not sure how long you played, but to get to, 1 handicap at 67 years old is pretty impressive. And this amount of turn at that age with those back issues that you have is also very, very impressive. So, that's why I said your swing is really, really solid for what it is. I mean, it is definitely compensations involved, but this is the challenge. And I've taught guys like you where they're really good and they want to get a little bit better. And the problem is they're really good based on their moves. And if you start to change these moves subtly, it's going to ruin your swing. So I hate, the conversation I usually have with people like you, who are really good players that are kind of homemade swings, that just didn't really get a lot of advice, that you kind of figured out and they've established themselves as a really good player, is that's the problem, is they've ingrained so much. Now, the longer you've played this game, let's say you've played this for 40 years, and you've evolved from where you started to 40 years later to have this swing. For us to change your neurological system, I hate to be the burden of bad news, and this sounds very grim, but you're probably not going to live long enough to change it. That's just the unfortunate thing. I'm 47. I probably won't live long enough to change my neurological system. It's so ingrained. And the more you hit golf balls, the more you've ingrained it. It takes a lot of work. So the uncomfortable conversation I have with students like this is like, look, we got two paths. We can change tiny, tiny little things with your swing, but we won't be able to change much. It's just too ingrained. Option number two is we can do a total revamp of your swing. I don't think that's the right choice because it's going to take X amount of years. It's going to take a bunch of dedication, a bunch of frustration. You're not going to like golf for many years because this swing's so ingrained. And because of that, isn't worth you. I mean, what is your goal? You're trying to go on tour? Maybe it might be worth you doing that, but you're 67 years old. I don't think there's going to be much. But this is a cause and effect video to see and trying to explain why I don't think we need to try and do much with the swing or even recommend doing anything, assuming this thing can like do its job. Look, it's so glitchy. All right, so there's your impact. So I want to show you how many times your club kind of veers away from its impact line, but you do a really good job of this. Let's take a look of compensations. So as we take that club back, we see the hands are doing a really phenomenal job of staying that lower plane line. And you can only do that by turning and tilting. So you're doing a good job of staying in your posture, and look at your tilting. Your tilting's pretty good. Right there's a slight bit of raising out of your posture. But if you take a look at where the club went below, not necessarily below your swing plane, but below your actual lower plane line. So it's way back over here. Once you get to the top of the swing, you reach your secondary plane line. Perfect. You can see that club is deep enough. Perfect. So we've already hit some good points. You come on down, it crosses the line slightly. I don't care. Crossing the line to me, it's not that big of a deal, specifically with you that has learned how to like move that around. So we'll count that as something that you have to deal with. As you come on down, we drop the club. You see the triangle works straight down. So the triangle is this area right here. It's going to work straight down where it needs to. So you see the club works straight down. Beautiful job. Only does it start crossing the right side of the triangle as you start initiating your turn. So that's great. So we got some good things happening here. The club now is falling into the plane. It is steep, right? So steep is probably because of some weight distribution issues and maybe stopping the turn at some point. Plus, it's a little bit steep because it went a little bit too far past. Now it's disconnected from the body. And when it's disconnected, it's way back here. If I turn a little bit, my arms are already going to be steep. So if they were more connected and you turn and tilt, they're going to be more on plane. So that's where that disconnection comes from. Excuse me, the steepness comes from, is that slight disconnection. And then we get down and we don't really touch that plane line. So it goes from above the plane. Let's take it at this one. So it goes from above the plane here and then below the plane. And I'll talk about your swing plane. And then it goes below the actual lower plane. And then you strike the golf ball. And look at that. You strike it perfectly in the impact line. As you come on through, we see the first escape pattern. Look at that. It's parallel to your swing plane line, which is the long green line. So there's so many subtle little things that you do to make the swing work. Now we have to look at why your hands are so involved. Number one, it is what you said. You get disconnected at the top. They get a little bit too far back, and that gives you that steepness because if you initiate turn while they're trying to catch up, you're going to be a little steeper. Can you solve that? Yes, you can. There's two ways. You can slow down your backswing to help stay more connected, or you can shorten your backswing. Would I recommend those? No, I wouldn't, because now that's going to mess with your sequencing. Your timing is going to be off. You're going to hit the ball like crap for quite some time while you develop that. But does that solve your rotation issues? No, not at all. So we might get you back on plane, but now will that you being back on plane because of your rotation issues, is that what we want? Do we want you to be on plane, or do we want you to be in the positions because your body's limited based on all the back issues you have? So will we be doing you justice by getting you on plane? I don't know. We'd have to wait and see. You might hit it worse being on plane, if that makes sense to you. So whenever you deal with somebody this good at this stage of life, short game. It's like, hey man, let's just go chip and putt. Let's go work on short game. Let's go choose the right club at right situations. Now, he said a little story that he played in a senior open and he was leading going into the last day and he lost it by a couple strokes and he made a triple. And the triple, he probably could have won it if he two putted. So, but there was one shot where it double crossed him and it cost him two shots, one shot in the golf tournament. So yes, those will happen. And at pressure, anytime pressure is applied, a swing with more compensations are higher likely to break down than a swing with less compensations. That's just the way it works. So it's just an unfortunate thing. Is it what you want to hear? No. I would love to sit here and say, do this, do that, do this to make your swing better. I just don't want to you push you down that avenue because I just know it's going to be very frustrating for you. Face on, I think you got a very, very solid setup. I think what saves this swing and what makes it a little bit more reliant in terms of compensations and allows your hands to be a lot more compensatory is the stable setup. I mean, this is about as good of a setup as you can get, and this is why this is a one handicap. We got that slight forward shaft lean. The ball position is still right in the center of the chest, so we have a lot of good things happening here. As we turn around, we can see that we don't slide out of that box. So this is where this thing gets jumpy. Look at the right hip. So we actually have spacing between the right hip starting the white and we're at the top of the swing, so we know we're turning, we're not sliding. The center is still where it was, so we're doing a really good job. We come on through, we get the weight to the left side, we got the drive, and now we have to stand up. And the standing up is also accommodating the hands having to catch up. That's all it is. So, long story short, I think if you can get your hands to not go past where they need to, it might help things out. But again, I just warn you from doing that, because if you do that, you are now inviting what made the swing work to not work anymore. And you change one thing, you got to change the next thing. You got to change the next thing. It's just a very frustrating journey to take. And I've taken it with some students. Fortunately, they were, 19, 20, 21. They had a lot of time ahead of them. It was worth their investment to put golf on hold for a couple of seasons while we rebuild their swing, because if they want to play competitively, no problem. But at 67, I say just enjoy what you got. Work on short game. Hopefully it didn't burst your bubble. Played for over 50 years. Yeah. So, I think you're doing, you're living the life, man. You're 67 years old. You got a one handicap. You're playing a lot. Just enjoy it. Don't get too caught up in your golf swing. I would say your swing is phenomenal. It works because it is the way it is. You start changing them, it's going to fall apart. Stick to short game. Practice a lot of chipping and putting. Arguably, you probably could have won that senior event if you made a few more putts. So, think about that as more of your focus to try and get better. Next one, Philly versus KC Super Bowl. Logo predicted it again. Philly should win. Ooh, that's going to be a good one. All right, guys. So that's about my time for me. We're right on the money at 9 o'clock, or not 9 o'clock. What am I thinking? 7 o'clock. So if you have any questions, let me know right now. If not, I still take submissions for next Sunday. We do this every Sunday, 6 o'clock. I just give my honest opinion. I try and help those that I know can probably benefit from immediate setup changes, or maybe some immediate takeaway changes. But I'm not too much of a fan of just breaking down your swing to break down and say, hey, but you got to change this, because that's, I don't want to ruin swings. I'm just here to educate you, and you have to be the one to make that decision. I'm just giving you the options. Hey, you can go this route, you can go this route. The choice is yours to make. All right, Terry. Yeah, no problem, man. I appreciate you. Appreciate everybody watching, taking your time on your Sunday to come and watch us. If you need my help, send me that video face on down the line. I got some good videos coming out this week. I got a great subject to talk about that I'm going to put together another one, probably another 20-minute video, but I know it's going to help you guys a lot. So I hope that helps you. I will see you next time. Fairways and greens.